Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me begin, as always, by thanking the people in my life that make a difference every day. To my wife, Giselle, and our family, who are always supportive while always keeping perspective and balance in our conversations, thank you. A particular note, I became a proud grandpa for the first time this year, as Elia was born April 17th to Eric and Annie. Mr. Speaker, as we approach Remembrance Day, I want to acknowledge specifically that in March of this year, Mom lost her husband of 49 years, George Goodrow, at age 102. George proudly served his country overseas, and he staunchly fought for Canadian values and opportunities. He will be missed. To my constituency assistant, Chris, and to all constituency assistants across the province, we thank you for the work that you've done in the last year and a half. It's been a very challenging time for all of you, and we know that you've been front and center in a lot of it, so we thank you. I also want to thank my constituency executive for the work that they do in supporting me and in working with our constituency. To the constituency of Kelvington-Wadena, they've been honest, they've been open, and they've been largely respectful of the challenging times we face. The vast majority are not happy with the situation we are in as a global community, but they, without exception, wouldn't trade their jobs for ours any day. Thank you to all constituents for your feedback and input. I want to single out and thank the healthcare workers across my constituency for their advocacy and for their dedication to their field. We have many family members in healthcare, and I'm particularly acutely aware of their service. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, the Lieutenant Governor delivered a wide-ranging speech from the throne on behalf of my government. Mr. Speaker, these are difficult times globally, in Canada and in Saskatchewan. This is well reflected in the speech as we outlined the challenges faced in a pandemic while fully recognizing the need to govern, the need to face realities of today, but always to have a vision of what we can be, what a positive outlook can bring, and what a committed team brings to the fore. These are difficult times, but they are not hopeless times. These are challenging times, but they are not a time to run for cover. They are a time to be bold, to be visionary, and to have trust and faith in the people of Saskatchewan. Today I'll touch on recent developments in my constituency, some important provincial developments that affect all of us, the speech from the throne in general, and I will touch briefly on COVID from perhaps a slightly different perspective. Mr. Speaker, the Kelvington-Wadena constituency, like many others, is largely rural, largely agriculture, and above all, filled with good, hard-working people. It's been an honor to represent them in this legislative building, and every time I put this pin on in the morning, I reflect on the responsibility that I have in that role and the responsibility we have as government. Mr. Speaker, our agriculture community had a particularly challenging year. Early stages of drought, uncertainties around delivery contracts, cost challenges, and the COVID world have been unprecedented challenges, and we thank them for their dedication to sustainable practices, to the industry that has global value, and to their communities and neighbours. Mr. Speaker, in the past couple of years, while we faced the challenges of COVID, my constituents and their municipal governments continued to partner with us to build Saskatchewan. They want a growing Saskatchewan. They want opportunity for their children and grandchildren. They want a safe and healthy Saskatchewan. They want good schools and local services. Mr. Speaker, they want us to do the work necessary to be that good partner in a responsible government. As a result, over the past couple of years, we've been able to work with communities with the MEEP program, the ISIP program, and a number of other grant and development initiatives. If I may, I'll highlight a few specific examples that are by no means exceptions, but are truly reflective of the community's will to grow and build better for their citizens. Mr. Speaker, last year's MEEP funding delivered $163,000 to Foam Lake, $185,000 to Wadena, $122,000 to Birkdale, $123,000 to Porcupine Plain, and similar amounts to many towns and RM partners to build new and replacement infrastructure. More recently, the Canada Infrastructure Program, a partnership between the provincial and federal governments, brought a provincial contribution of $294,000 to the Archwell Lagoon expansion through the arm of Barrier Valley. The Theatre Water Treatment Plant received $194,000 from this provincial government. Mr. Speaker, funding was provided to the Red Deer Nursing Home for much-needed capital improvements, to the Wadena Hospital for significant improvements as well. Of particular note, this past year I was thrilled to announce the completion of Highway 38 resurfacing from Kelvington to Perigord and from Chelan to the provincial park boundary. In addition, significant repaving and road improvements were completed inside Greenwater Lake Provincial Park. I would be remiss if I didn't add that Greenwater Lake Provincial Park truly is one of the great hidden gems in the province, with a fantastic golf course under new ownership and management structure, with excellent fishing and hiking trails, great camping facilities, and spectacular scenery. Everyone should put it on their bucket list. I'd also like to note a number of traffic safety initiatives funded through SGI Provincial Traffic Safety Fund grant program. These initiatives will help save lives on our highways. Mr. Speaker, while we've had many announcements around new bridges, new culverts, and other new government-supported projects, but I want to highlight a couple of private businesses that prove confidence in our Saskatchewan. A small but not insignificant business opened in Foam Lake. Mid-Prairie Truck and Trailer Repair is a welcome addition to their business community. In Wadena, one of the longest-serving and larger regional ag businesses, Wheat Belt Sales, is in the middle of building a huge addition to their premises to allow them to properly assemble equipment for delivery. I also want to recognize the work of our many partners in the care of those facing challenges in our communities. Programs like Mallard in Wadena, POP in Porcupine Plain, and CARES in Wynyard, and many others make a difference in many lives and in the well-being of our communities. Mr. Speaker, we have very entrepreneurial and supportive communities in the Northeast, and we honor them through our commitment to a balanced approach to our current challenges. One of the things noted in the throne speech that is, I believe, a game changer for our tradespeople and miners is the announcement by BHP to complete the development and to bring to production a mine that, while it's just outside my constituency, will be well-paying jobs for many of my constituents in the future. Mr. Speaker, the speech from the throne highlights a number of initiatives in addition to BHP that will be very important to my constituents. The $2.25 million invested by our government in the CT scanner in Melfort will make a big difference to healthcare delivery in the Northeast. The coverage approval for Trikafta is a game changer for CF patients and families who have worked tirelessly to get approval and delivery of this innovation and care. New announcements in cancer testing and treatment affect every one of us, and we congratulate and thank all involved in these developments. Mr. Speaker, there are so many pieces to the throne speech that it is difficult to touch on all of them, but I want to highlight just a few more. The commitment that SaskTel will work with private internet service providers is past due, and I am looking forward to significant advancement of rural internet services. Our investment in and support of value add in agriculture is incredibly important and is clearly recognized by both major market players as well as small entrepreneurs in vegetable production, ethanol, and many others. I also note the significant developments in helium, in lithium, and in precious metals, all of which will make Saskatchewan a stronger global player. Mr. Speaker, the work being done to bring new and innovative sciences to those challenged with mental health and addictions is a significant step forward. These initiatives matter. Last year, we announced our growth plan, laying out our vision for the next decade. The speech from the throne continues to put in place the necessary steps and tools to work with Saskatchewan citizens to be leaders, to be innovators, to be participants in a strong, growing, and more resilient province. The people of Saskatchewan are well aware of the challenges we face as we grow and build based on our natural resource and ag and now tech-driven economy. Our government will stand up for Saskatchewan producers and innovators. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to make a few comments about the COVID world we live in. Mr. Speaker, for many decades, Saskatchewan, Canada, and probably the Western world has grown to have certain expectations of not only our healthcare system, but our social acceptance of what might be considered normal behavior around all matters health-related. Of course, through our divergent views, always funding challenges, always questions about policy, but bottom line, we had certain expectations that the system was responsive, responsible, and full of people who had a universal perspective on delivery priorities. Mr. Speaker, almost 2 years ago that changed, not just in a nuanced, ponderous way. No, we were hit squarely with numerous unknowns. What is this that we're dealing with? What is the source? How does it spread? Why does it affect people the way it does? During this time, we've seen nations become isolationists. We've seen a loss of faith and a loss of trust in governance globally, nationally, and at all levels. We've seen neighbor against neighbor, and even family members challenged in their familial relationships. The fallout from COVID-19 pandemic has affected each and every citizen in ways unimaginable just 2 years ago. No one knew the role social media would play. No one knew 2 years ago that there would be such societal division and polarization. No one could have expected the challenge to the healthcare system, and in many ways the challenges presented with simply developing a mutual understanding of the issues, complications, and processes to deal with it. Mr. Speaker, let me be perfectly clear. I'm not advocating for any position on COVID numbers or theories. I'm simply dealing with a perspective on societal impact. In no way do I wish to diminish the individual impact of those who have lost loved ones to the COVID consequence. Remember, in the early days, this came filled with distrust, racist, globalist conspiracies. The question that I've asked myself is, why have we come to such a place and time when we have so much opportunity in front of us? In considering that question, Mr. Speaker, I've looked back through my life for guidance and wisdom of others, and I thought I might add a perspective to the conversation that may be a starting point for a different level of conversation. Mr. Speaker, during my career, I had the opportunity to work in the field of corporate reorganization and change management. During that time, working with an international firm and working with senior executives on major international corporations, we were struck by a universal reality, and it was expressed as change in culture can, in fact, be no different from dealing with death or loss of a spouse or child. Mr. Speaker, in fact, we are dealing with a certain level of societal change. Perhaps we should collectively take a leadership role in compassion for our fellow citizens, not unlike at a moment when they are dealing with a significant personal loss in their lives. I'm reminded of the Kubler-Ross studies done on the 5 stages of change management, dealing with significant changes in life, whether it's a career, disaster, personal circumstances, or death, and now I would argue a change in societal behaviors. It is widely recognized that we all deal with change differently based on many factors, including our personalities, our backgrounds, and our trusted environment. Mr. Speaker, arguably we are dealing with a level of change that I will compare to a loss of a partner, simply because it is of that certainty, of that consequence, as we struggle to redefine our relationships with each other and with systems and processes in which we had reliability and trust. Mr. Speaker, the 5 stages of dealing with significant loss are as follows. First, there's a level of denial. We see that play out in many ways. Denial that the loss, or in this case the virus, is real. Denial that it exists. Denial that it will affect me. Denial that it has consequences in my life. Denial that it will have consequences to others. Certainly we have seen that level of denial within society at various times as we have denied that anything like this could happen and that it is not a conjured reality. We begin to surround and shield ourselves with people of like mind who support our distress. The second stage is anger. We strike out at whatever we think the cause of our loss is. We create that singular phrase so often heard, "Why me?" We blame others randomly, and we point fingers at real and imagined causes of our pain and suffering. We criticize others, and we strike out with every random belief of the moment. We blame foreign powers, the WHO, Fauci, the elite, all governments, health authorities, whomever we can. They created this, they have a plan, and they are the enemy. In war, we have a visible enemy. In pandemic, we have an invisible enemy. The third stage is bartering. It's at this stage that we begin the what-if scenario analysis. What if I had done something different? What if you had done something different? What if they did something different? What if the government did this or that? What if I just stay home? What if, what if, what if? Perhaps this would not have happened and my life would be secure in the past. The fourth phase is depression. It's at this stage that we move to the present and grasp that we are deeply affected by what has befallen us. We see ourselves as the victim of the circumstance and we must carry the burden alone. We are hurt by the circumstance on a very personal level. Look at how this is affecting me. We withdraw. We are saddened by the state of our existence. This is an entirely normal reaction. It is at this stage that we grasp the situation and either find the will within or reach out and find help in recovery. The fifth stage is acceptance. It's in this stage that we begin to transition to an understanding that while there is significant loss in my life, I remain, and I have value, and I have responsibilities to others, and I matter. I accept that things may be different moving forward, but I have a role to play, and I have relationships to rebuild and move forward. Mr. Speaker, obviously time doesn't give opportunity to delve deeper into this perspective, but suffice to say that if you agree that as a society we are dealing with a loss of security in our lives, and we as a society are grieving that loss, we can be a compassionate advocate for working through that grieving process for all of society. It is normal. It affects everyone differently, and we must be understanding that we are all in this together, and together we will find our way. Each of us might be struggling in any one of the phases, and it is on us collectively to be patient and understanding. Mr. Speaker, from time to time on a personal level, I reach back to a poem written by Max Ehrmann in about 1927 that I came across many years ago. The poem is titled Desiderata, which is translated from the Latin meaning things desired. I like to quote from that poem as I think it provides further perspective on our current state. And I quote, "Go placidly in the noise and haste, and remember that what peace there may be in silence. As far as possible, without surrender, be on good terms with all persons. Speak your truth quietly and clearly. Listen to others. Even the dull and ignorant, they too have their story. Avoid loud and aggressive persons. They are vexatious to the spirit. If you compare yourself to others, you may become vain and bitter, for always there will be greater and lesser persons than yourself. Enjoy your achievements as well as your plans. Keep interested in your own career, however humble. It is a real possession in the changing fortunes of time. Exercise caution in your business affairs, for the world is full of trickery. But let this not bind you for what virtue there is. Many people strive for high ideals, and everywhere life is full of heroism. Nurture strength in spirit to shield you in sudden misfortune, but do not distress yourself with dark imaginings. Many fears are born of fatigue and loneliness. Beyond a wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself. You are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here. And whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. Therefore, be at peace with God, whatever you conceive him to be. Whatever your labors and aspirations, in the noisy confusion of life, keep peace in your soul. With all its sham, drudgery, and broken dreams, it is still a beautiful world. Be cheerful, strive to be happy. Mr. Speaker, I will be supporting the motion by the member from PA, and I will not be supporting the amendment from the member from Saskatoon Eastview. Thank you.
Hear, hear.